So whenever I'm in Japan and I happen to be around Nakano, I'd go into the basement of Nakano Broadway and I would buy some kimonos from this used kimono shop. And I did this with the intention of maybe upcycling the kimonos one day because the fabric and the patterns on these kimonos are really cool and they've just been sitting there in the basement of this dank old mall. But I have quite a few kimonos now, so I think maybe it's time to actually do something with them. This one I found really cool because there's some texture to it, and it has this hexagonal diamond rose-like pattern that maybe I could use for something. So coincidentally, I also happen to have picked up this amazingly beautiful pull-up leather from Italy. I got this on sale, and I think that the color would really match well with the red on this hexagon. Now, the only issue is that I got this on sale because it has already been splitted and it is really thin. It's 0.8 millimeters. If I wanted to, let's say, make a bag with this, leather stretches. So I would need to reinforce this somehow. So I think by using this as a lining and probably with some non-stretch reinforcement as well, I'll glue the non-stretch here, and then I'll glue this on as a lining, and then we can try to make a bag with this and see how that goes. Okay, so I sketched out roughly what I want to do here. So it's going to be a bag that kind of looks like this. I do not have the dimensions that I want yet, but it's probably going to be pretty small because I'm worried about the leather stretching. Maybe it'll be big enough to fit like a cell phone or a couple books, but it's going to be basically 4 different panels. The side panels will look like this, and you have these like little tab thingies down here. And what this will let us do is that we'll be able to fold in the tabs, and then we'll create something like this. And so if we have these on either side, if you can imagine, and then we have a longer piece that goes around, that basically creates the bag. Now, for the actual lining itself, we should just be able to glue the kimono to these flat panels before we make it into a bag, and hopefully everything will work out. Here, I was experimenting whether or not I want to create an extra pocket by folding the kimono over in on itself before sewing it into the leather. I do not think I'm going to do that because I want to make this easy for myself, especially for a first experiment. Okay, so luckily I have this pretty big piece of dot grid paper, and the dot spacing is pretty useless for me, but we could at least rough out approximately what we want. So I have a couple small books here that are some standard Japanese small pocket size book thing, and then I have my cell phone, and we can just, I don't know, like trace out what we want. So let's see, let's figure out this pocket area. The side of the bag should be approximately like that biggish. And then of course we need to like make sure that there's this seam allowance thing. And then we'll figure out the actual like folding situation later. But that should work for the rough size. And then for the actual width, so I'm going to take this and then actually measure it and draw something out, make a pattern, and we'll go from there. So I got all of the measurements and I thought that I should probably test it out a little bit in the real world. So I used a little bit of scrap leather I had to make this tiny little test piece, which is the side of the bag. So you could see how the little ears in the flat design gets bent and then turned into this lip that we could then sew into the actual bag. Now, this seems to be a little bit too big for what I want, so I had to revise some of these measurements. And instead of using leather, I decided to make a little test piece out of paper. And this is what it will kind of look like. Honestly, kind of looks like a really big card holder, like playing cards. But we'll have a lid like this, and then hopefully it goes over, and I hope this kind of makes a little sense of what I'm going for. So after making this and validating that everything works, I cut out a couple templates, and then I will use this to actually cut out the leather. Okay, so I finished cutting out the side panels, and I think the next thing for me to do is to actually disassemble the kimono. It is the next day now, and I have my kimono fabric, but before I move on with this, I want to just mention that I need to skive these edge flaps here because they are going to overlap. So I need to thin it out. So I'm going to do that first before I forget. So what I'm going to do next is mark the hemline because I'm going to have the fabric here and then the leather is going to fold over on itself. That way I don't have to do some weird stitching thing at the edge. So I'm just going to mark it. Okay, let's talk about how we're going to stick the kimono fabric to the leather. So I have these pieces of non-stretch reinforcement material that have a sticky backing that can stick to fabric. So I'm going to stick this onto the kimono in some good areas because I want this hexagon, so I'll probably stick it here. And then I'm going to take this leather glue I have to glue the reinforcement material to the leather. And hopefully that should be enough. Oh, that seems nice. This is very nice. Wow. So now what I need to do is apply glue liberally to both sides of these and stick them together. Okay, so now that we have this glued up, it's time to stitch this seam over here. Now, people might think that I'll be using a sewing machine, but I decided to do it the hard way and do it manually using the stitching chisels over here. So I need to punch out all the holes and then I'm going to take some thread and saddle stitch it together. The only issue is that I kind of forgot that you need to know how far away from the edge you need to stitch, and you'd use calipers to do that, but because there's fabric here, I can't actually accurately mark it. So what I have is I went to my woodworking toolbox and I got this thing, which is a scribe. And what I'm going to do, which is so stupid, but hopefully this will work, is that I will just go and um, I will align this thing like this, and then I'll put my stitching chisels here, and I will know that that is 5 millimeters away from the edge. Seems like it worked, and I got a straight line, so I guess let's continue. And now for these very tiny 2 pieces of loose thread, I'm just going to very carefully burn it off. And I have an electric burner here, so hopefully I don't fuck up. I used to use an actual lighter, but then I accidentally set my hair on fire, so that's the end of that for me. So now that we have this stitched, we could just fold this over and open it up now into an actual side. And it looks like this. Wow. That actually worked really well. And now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this edge in to hide this rough edge here. So I'm hoping that when we fold these flaps down that these two will be the same height, because if not, then we will have a massive problem. Now that we have these two panels done, it's time to make the actual body of the bag that will wrap around this whole thing. But I do not have any measurements, so we're just going to wing it. Oh, there goes my ruler. Okay, so by winging it, what do I mean? I mean that if we want a piece of leather to go all around, then what I'm going to do is from the edge here, I'm just going to boop, 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 and then give a little bit of clearance. So And now I also made a template for the actual cover of the bag, and I'm going to use the width here to decide how much I need to cut. And now that I have these two lines over here, I'm going to take this massive ruler that I have and just strike across and cut to make sure that it is parallel. So I cut out the reinforcement material to be the size that I need for the body of the bag, and now I'm going to stick this onto my kimono fabric. And now I need to glue. I need to glue a lot. I need to use a lot of glue, huh? Okay, so now that we have these two panels with glue on them, we need to stick them together. But because they have different stretchiness abilities, we need to stick them together in a U shape so that there's no like buckling when we bend it around these panels, which makes this slightly more difficult, but I think that's probably okay. It's probably fine. Okay, cool. I think that is as close as I'm gonna get it. All right, now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this seam. Okay, so we have most of the back part of the bag done. I have things temporarily clamped together just so that I know where I need to cut the excess leather off and then glue this down. So we'd have a nice little box. Now, after this, we're not going to do the final glue up and stitching yet because I need to add hardware to this. I need to add some little buckles to the sides and also figure out a way to attach the actual cover and make the cover as well, actually, now that I think about it. Okay, so we have these two side panels and we want to attach hardware to them. So I was digging through my bucket of buckles that I have for some reason, and I found these two cute little golden loop things. So I think they will look really cute if we just attach them like this. And to do that, I did cut out some rectangular pieces of leather. I already edge beveled them. I still need to burnish the edges though, but hopefully I'll just be able to put this in here, loop it around, and attach it this way, like this. And that will hopefully be easy because I did also cut out a template. So what I can do with this template is I will just put it here and it's perfectly sized to be the width of the panel. So I know where my midpoint is, and then I can just slide this in here and that will tell me where this needs to be glued down. Almost forgot to add the non-stretch reinforcement here. This is probably the most important part to have this. Okay, so I stitched the buckles into the sides of the bag, and they're double stitched, so hopefully they don't come off. And the last things to do before I glue up the actual body of the bag is I need to edge bevel everything. And I hope that that works out okay. I'm kind of worried because some of the leather seems to be a bit loose, and my edge beveler isn't that sharp. But we'll see about that. The other thing that I want to do is I want to punch some holes into the body here, because what I want is for the cover, the flap, to be detachable. And to do that, I'm going to install these little golden snap thingies, and hopefully I line up the holes correctly so that they actually snap into place, because if they don't, then I fucked myself and I'd need to restart basically. And I'm sure you guys have noticed by now, but this has been a multi-day affair. And like, to be fair, I've only been working on this bag at night, but it's been a week. And it's been so long that I cut my thumb and then like it healed. Like, that's how long it's been. There's gonna be some B-roll where my thumb is gonna have a band-aid on it, and then the next shot, there isn't a band-aid anymore. That's how long this has been. So, if I do fuck this up, I don't have time to remake it because I'm actually making this as a gift for someone. So, shit. Okay, well, definitely could have done better, but I at least didn't massively fuck up, I don't think. Let's try not fucking up some more and punch some holes. So, I got this template so that I could circle out where the hell the holes are. Okay, that's where the holes need to be punched. Now, I have a washer to go on the back just so that I can give some protection to the fabric. Put this thing in, put this through the back. Nice, nice, looks okay. And then put this on top, and then I need to punch this now. I need to hammer this in. Well, that looks much better than I thought it would. Cool. Now I just need to do the matching side by cutting out the flap lid cover thing. So for the cover, I could do what I have been doing and just use this really thin leather and reinforce it and line it with the kimono. But if I do that, then I'm going to have to basically hem along this entire shape. And I can do that. I could make some leather edge binding and cover up the hem, or I could use my sewing machine and just hem this kimono lining to begin with. But I'm a bit lazy, and I also happen to have the exact same leather, but in an actual thicker thickness. So I think I'm going to use this instead. That way I can just cut out this shape, edge bevel, burnish this, punch in the snaps, and hopefully that's it. Shit, I forgot that I also need to do this magnetic snap part. I have not figured that out yet, but we'll get there when we get there. Seems to be going well so far. And then, hopefully, snaps together. Nice, nice. And hopefully this is long enough. And wow. That looks like a fucking bag. Holy shit. It actually looks like a bag. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. That's nice that I didn't fuck up. Yet, at least. So now I need to figure out how to actually close the bag. And I know that I can't use snaps like I did with this because these are actually too tight. I need to be on both sides to actually press the snap in, which you can't do when you're closing the bag from the front. And the leather here is too thin. You can't, it like gives away really easily. So I think one of the only things I could do is use a magnetic snap. So to do that, I have these two things. Oh God, these two things. They're cute little magnetic snaps. They're pretty strong for their size. But the problem with these is that they have little prongs at the back. So I need to stab through the leather to put these prongs in and then bend them to actually attach them to the leather, which will look really ugly, especially if you're going to be able to see that inside of the leather here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out pieces of leather to attach these two, and then stitch those pieces of leather to the bag. All right, so I made these templates, and I'm just going to use the leather scraps that I currently have to just cut them out. And I am so glad that I have a paper cutter so I could just design these templates in CAD and cut them out perfectly, because if I didn't, I think this project would have taken twice as long. Okay, I kind of miscalculated that this corner of the square shows up beneath the flap, but I will call that a design decision. Why not? Now, all I had to do is basically figure out where on this front panel this square needs to be sewed into, and then after that, I can move on with my life. Ah, motherfucker. God damn it. Of course, butter side down. Oh, jeez. Okay, well, that's good. All right, now time to punch and stitch. And then I can move on with my fucking life. Jesus. Okay, now that this is stitched up, there's one more thing. There's one more thing I want to do before I assemble everything together. And that one thing is that I have this. This is a brass stamp with my channel logo on it. And I think it would be really cool if I could press that just into here, just in the middle of these two buttons. You will not see the logo when you're wearing the bag normally, but when you take it off or when you take this off, it'll be just right there and it'll be embossed into the leather. I think that might be cool. I don't know how I'm gonna do that. I guess I'll grab some clamps. It's not like I have like a press or anything, but I'll figure it out. Hopefully this kind of works. Okay. I'm just gonna start tightening the clamp. All right, let's see if it works. I'm slightly nervous. Oh, whoa! That's so cool. Wow. Okay, we're at the final stretch. All we have to do is punch out the stitching holes on both sides of the body of the bag, glue it up to the sides, and then punch it out again, and then stitch, and then finish the edges. Okay, now that I have the glue applied, hopefully it'll be very easy to attach things together because I just need to line up the edges. I just need to line up the edges and not fuck up. So I guess I'll just go for it. Wow, that's an actual bag. This is an actual bag. Of course, I still need to stitch, but oh my god. That looks so good. What the fuck? I made this? How did I do that? Alright, because of the weird shape of this bag, I can only punch through the stitch holes using the edge like this, and it does not seem exactly stable. Alright, I'm just hand stabbing everything now, but this seems like the only way I can figure out how to stitch this bottom part is to have this on its edge and just putting it on here, which, you know, it's not ideal. Um, but I guess it works. Okay, so this is the finished leather bag. And of course, you could take off the cover. And the inside is a cool kimono lining. Very neat. And it's just big enough to fit stuff like my sketchbook. Cool. A couple books I'm reading because I'm learning Japanese. Also cool. A phone, of course. A wallet. If you can guess which currencies are in here, leave a comment. And also, if you can guess which IC card this is from, leave a comment. And then the best sketching pens in the world. I have a couple of these. And it fits in this cute little packaging. Wow. Not bad for the very first bag I have ever made, ever. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this. The only issue is that I made this as a gift, and I am immediately giving this away, like tomorrow. So I do not have time to actually use this myself. Very sad. But I made this bag to begin with, so I could always make another one. Alright, so I finished building the bag, and that should be video done, right? But while disassembling the kimono, I have a scrap that is a perfect length for a shoulder strap. And I think I should attempt to try to sew that. The only problem is that it is a long piece of fabric. It's actually like 6 feet long, and I folded it over itself to make it into a really thin strap and had to pin it up really carefully. And now I need to attempt to sew in a straight line for 6 continual feet. And sewing in a straight line, if you guys have never sewed before, is harder than you think. So I don't think I've ever done 6 continual feet of sewing, but we could try, I guess.